SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Come see your locally owned and operated Linton Glass for all your glass needs. No matter what glass you need to replace, you can count on Linton Glass. Call us today at 601-835-4336 or find us on the web at lintonglass.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Hey, good morning. Welcome. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We are grateful that you are choosing to start your Tuesday with us, and we try not to take that lightly. We'll try to have a little fun. We'll try to inform, maybe entertain just a little bit, and perhaps we can all learn a thing or two. Alongside Lance Talbert, I'm Richard Cross. You're listening to SuperTalk Mississippi. If you ever missed the show, you can grab it as a podcast. You can get Mornings with Richard Cross on the go, and then just in your mind, change it to Afternoons with Richard Cross, or Evenings with Richard Cross, or Midnight with Richard Cross. Whatever you want to do, we'd love to have you. Always available online, on demand. C-Spire text line always available as well. 601-879-4395. You ready for your winning strategy? Here it is. Listen up. Here it is. Join C-Spire. That's right. Join C-Spire. All the technology and support you need to succeed at home, at work, and everywhere else. Visit cspire.com today. C-Spire, inspired by you. Good morning, Mr. Lance.
What's going on up here in North Mississippi? Some storms are brewing, I know. So.
Well, not a lot yet, but it appears to be on the way. The old precipitation chance has gone up about 30% overnight, and we're sitting there at 90, so we'll see. 90%, that is, not 90 degrees.
Yeah, the National Weather Service out of the Jackson office they always have a great graphic whenever you're looking at potential for inclement and rough weather, and it's got a few different little troughs there between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m., 6 p.m., 11, and 9 and 1 look to be the timing as it runs roughshod through at about a 45-degree angle starting around south of Jackson, down around Natchez, and going all the way up through the northeast corner. So be careful out there today, folks. It looks like it could be interesting with some damaging winds potentially. Yeah. That's the stuff that'll get you.
Severe weather threat yesterday was kind of upper Midwest into the northwest part of Arkansas. Tornadoes there last night. It's expected to shift farther east and toward parts of Mississippi, Ohio, and Tennessee. The Mississippi, Ohio, and Tennessee valleys. With the greatest risk from Kentucky and Tennessee into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and parts of northwestern Georgia. National Weather Service, or NOAA, tells us that supercell thunderstorms could include a threat of strong tornadoes. Wind damage should become the primary concern. Did I just say primary? Funny. I think I said primary. Primary concern is storms form into lines or clusters. Cities like Birmingham and Huntsville, Memphis and Nashville, Tupelo, St. Louis, Louisville, Kentucky, all areas that need to be heads up. So, big swath of bad weather possible in the southeast today. A little more localized. Hernando, you've got scattered thunderstorms this morning, turning into strong thunderstorms during the afternoon, damaging winds, large hail, and possibly a tornado. High of 82 with winds out of the south-southwest at 10 to 20. As of about 11 o'clock last night, your rain chance was 80%. That may have gone up. Cloudy in the morning in Oxford, strong thunderstorms later in the day, damaging winds, large hail, possibly a tornado. Rinse and repeat, high of 81. Chance of rain 90%. Grenada, you're going to be a little bit warmer, 85. Cloudy this morning, strong thunderstorms this afternoon. Same deal with the hail and the possible tornado. 60% chance of rain. Jackson, you might miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Cloudy skies early, partly cloudy later, stray shower, thunderstorms possible, high of 88 in Jackson.
Yeah, we're right on that marginal to slight risk color scheme.
Right
looks like a
there
Scott.
on the edge.
It looks like a Scott Sands syllabus for a Friday layout, color coordinated and everything. So
he sent me one of those one time. I just want to look at it.
yeah, no, it's so
Intrigued
pretty.
with how different people lay things out.
Yeah, his brain works that way, huh?
Yeah, yeah. He told I sent him what I use, and he said, knew you were a TV guy. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, ATV guide type, just up straight up and down. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess it does kind of look more like a TV script layout. It's just what works for me. American actor Jimmy Stewart, or James Stewart if you prefer, born on this day in 1908. The Philadelphia Story, It's a Wonderful Life, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Vertigo.
That's a good one. Like Vertigo a lot.
Kind of an It's a Wonderful Life guy.
Well, I mean, of course. You got to dig into like the second layer and third every now and again. Jimmy Stewart's a great one. I mean, so many movies. I wouldn't even really know where to start. The Man Who Knew Too Much. I've seen that one so many times. A great actor. But I mean, is there a voice that would be more distinguishable if you didn't see a picture or a video of them and use her? Well, Jimmy Stewart. I mean, is there a voice more iconic?
Voice.
And a guy that literally played that stutter a little bit too to so much effect, the pauses and the thinking. A genius actor, and then a son who's not a bad comedian either, and turned out to be kind of a pretty big time talk show host.
Who?
Jon Stewart, right?
Is Jon Stewart Jimmy Stewart's son?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. See, I learned something this morning. Maybe
Yay.
you did too.
Yay.
Is there a more recognizable voice if you didn't see the face? Sean Connery?
Again, that's, there's not that many, I would imagine,
many.
but Sean Connery definitely would have to fit into that.
I think our good friend James Earl Jones,
Him and Morgan.
CNN.
Morgan Freeman, James Earl Jones,
Like a Twinkie, like a Twinkie. Jimmy Stewart, born on this day in, what did I say, 1909? Not this. What
would you do if I sang out of tune?
1908 for Jimmy Stewart.
Would you stand up and walk out on me?
1944 for the great Joe Cocker.
Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song.
What's this make you think of?
I will try not to sing out of key. Oh, baby, how
Come on now. What's this make you think of?
You got me.
The Wonder Years.
The Wonder Years, yes. I knew it was TV something. It's been a long time since I've clicked in on some Wonder Years, man.
Kevin and Winnie.
You had Fred Savage.
Yeah. Fred
Great.
Savage played Kevin, star of the show.
And he was the, I'm trying to remember, he also played an assistant to somebody. I think it was on the Austin Powers where he had the big mole on his face. Yeah, he did a great job in that.
Dietrich Mateschitz was born on this day in 1944, passed away in 2022. The Austrian businessman. He was the founder and the co-creator of Red Bull energy drink. Also founded Red Bull Racing, the FC Red Bull Salzburg. Born in St. Maren im Merzal, Austria. Okay.
I don't have to believe you on that. That sounds
fueling late night study sessions and long drives in the evening when you didn't want to go with coffee for the last couple of decades. Quite the creator.
Yeah, people got real creative with Red Bull too. It's everywhere.
Talking about mixers, right?
Mixers, baby. Hey, and some of the things that they did with the it's more like, the stuntmen things. You had the Bumgardner guy that jumped out of the the deal above Earth.
Cool stuff.
Oh man, that to me,
Red Bull gives you wings.
Yeah, they got to give this guy a place in whatever human Hall of Fame it is for challenging those boundaries a bit, because he did, and we'd gotten to where we weren't doing things like that. You don't see big monuments and things created anymore. But, something like that where man has to be tested a bit, and it's not war or something like that. It's really cool to see, and he poured a lot of money into those things, sponsored so many cool events that were iconic, and thank you. I mean, because I really enjoyed a lot of that stuff. Wish we saw more of it. Travis Pastrana jumping buildings and stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. And then there is this lady, pretty talented.
How hard I try. You keep pushing me aside and I can't break through. There's no talking to you.
Cher, born on this day in 1946. American Grammy Award-winning singer. I Got You, Babe. If I Could Turn Back Time, Believe. Academy Award-winning actress as well, including in the great Mamma Mia. Maybe you don't think that's great. It's okay. The ABBA story. Good stuff.
I like Moonstruck is one of my
like
favorites.
Moonstruck more than
movie.
Mamma Mia?
Yeah.
She was born in El Centro, California. Thanks to our good buddy Levi Strauss. On this day in 1873, he got the patent for the first blue jeans with copper rivets. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the bottom.
What's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Big day today in the history of the aviation industry. This day in 1927 at pretty close to this time, 7:40 Eastern time, Charles Lindbergh took off from New York to cross the Atlantic for Paris aboard Spirit of the St. Louis in the first solo nonstop transatlantic flight. And then 5 years later, in 1932, Amelia Earhart left Newfoundland on her journey to become the first woman to fly solo and nonstop across the Atlantic. So Lindbergh did it, and 5 years later, Amelia Earhart did it. And on this day in 2015, has it really been 11 years? David Letterman hosts The Late Show with David Letterman for the last time, ending a 33-year run in late-night television. Top 10 lists.
Oh, those are the best. Throw in the pencil. I love that.
Paul Schaefer.
Oh, man. What a strange bird. But, I mean, he added so much to the show.
He did.
That was like his buddy, He'd always holler at old Paul, and Paul could jam it out, man. That had to be one of those gigs. Those were one of those gigs that you just never wanted to let go of if you were the Paul Schaefers of the world.
Yeah.
It's got to be a golden gig.
I actually saw Letterman in person one time. It was a cool setup.
Cool, yeah. We tried to do Leno, but couldn't get in. They escorted us off the lot, basically.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding, but we tried hard, but it just couldn't do it.
We waited in line for tickets. We were in New York, and it started raining. It was cold, and Jane was like, I don't really care at all about doing this. I'm like, come on, let's do it. Only time we'll get a chance to do it. We ended up with pretty good seats. It was fun. I think John McCain was actually the guest that night.
Not a lot of comedy in that one.
No, there wasn't.
I've never been in one of those types of talk show comedic studios. Are they as big as they look on the camera? Because, they'll spin it around every now and again, and it looks like it's a little larger than, say, like the old Donahue ones and things like that. But
yeah, Ed Sullivan Theater was pretty good size. Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing here a couple hundred seats, probably. I don't know.
Now, do they charge? Or is it like just – okay, yeah, they need an audience.
They need an audience. Thermal management company Modine is upgrading an existing facility in Grenada County to manufacture data center cooling equipment. Well, you want to talk about a company that is in the right place at the right time.
You got that right.
The project was announced yesterday. It will represent a corporate investment of more than $38 million by the end of 2028. So not even a long time frame here. Going to create 450 jobs, according to the Mississippi Development Authority. Governor was there for the announcement yesterday, says this is another big economic development win for Grenada County and Mississippi. 450 jobs are a lot of jobs, and that means a lot of meaningful careers for Mississippians. Modine's investment speaks volumes to our dedication to cultivating one of the top business environments in the country. Companies like Modine are increasingly relying on Mississippi to get the job done right and on time. The Mississippi momentum is real, said Governor Reeves, and this is our time to show the world everything that makes our state the optimal place to invest. Modine's got a impressive resume as a diversified global leader in thermal management technology and solutions. Expansion in Grenada County involves building enhancements and product line additions to support an increased demand for the company's data center cooling solutions. They're building data centers faster than you can count.
Yeah, and once Tate Reeves hangs up the political hat in a few years, I'm curious what he's going to do. Somebody needs to bring him in, make him like the czar of economic recruiting.
Yeah.
He has been something else, a juggernaut. Yeah. And not just him, but the team and people that are surrounding him all have done amazing work. And it's all over. It's everywhere across the state. You're hearing great news, jobs created, and in industries that obviously are moving in that way where we need them.
A lot of really, really good stuff happening. Democratic Representative LaMonica McIver is being charged with assault after a skirmish with federal officers outside an immigration detention center. It's according to New Jersey's top federal prosecutor, who also announced Monday that she was dropping a trespassing case against the mayor of Newark. Now, I don't know if Hakeem Jeffries knows about this, but it sounds like they just crossed that red line that he was talking about last week. The prosecution of McIver is a rare federal criminal case against a sitting member of Congress for allegations other than fraud or corruption. I love that line. It's like, it's rare that members of Congress are charged with with crimes other than fraud, corruption. Case instantly taps into a much broader and more consequential power struggle between a Trump administration engaged in a sweeping overhaul of immigration policy and a Democratic Party scrambling for ways to respond. Does it? Or does it just say you're not above the law just because you're a congressman? Alina Habba is the federal prosecutor for the state of New Jersey. Within minutes of her announcement, the Democratic colleagues of Ms. McIver cast the prosecution as an infringement on lawmakers' official duties to serve their constituents and an effort to silence their opposition to an immigration policy that helped propel the president back into power, but has emerged as divisive, a fault line in American political discourse. Or has it? It's what they want you to believe. Could it be, though, that it's just a administration that's focused on law and order? At the same time, Alina Habba announced that her office agreed to dismiss the misdemeanor charge against the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka. He was arrested after attempting to join McIver and two other members of New Jersey's congressional delegation inspecting the facility in their oversight capacity. Habba said the decision was reached for the sake of moving forward. She's invited the mayor to tour the Delaney Hall Detention Center and will join him herself. Habba said the citizens of New Jersey deserve unified leadership so we can get to work to keep our state safe. McIver has denied any wrongdoing and has accused federal agents of escalating the situation by arresting the mayor. She denounced the charge as purely political. That's right. Couldn't have anything to do with your actions. It is only political in nature. A win for Donald Trump yesterday at the Supreme Court. SCOTUS yesterday allowed the Trump administration to strip legal protections from 350,000 Venezuelans, potentially exposing them to deportation. The decision was 8-1 on the Supreme Court. Kentanji was the only one that said no. Puts a hold on a ruling from a federal judge in San Francisco that kept in place temporary protected status for the Venezuelans that would have otherwise expired last month. Justices provided no rationale. Status allows people already in the United States to live and work legally because their native countries are deemed unsafe for return due to natural disaster or civil strife. And the High Court's order appears to be the single largest action in modern American history, stripping any group of non-citizens of immigration status. That's according to Ahilan Rulanatham. He was one of the attorneys representing the Venezuelan migrants. Spokeswoman for Trump said the Trump administration is reinstituting integrity into our immigration system to keep our homeland and its people safe. I don't know that seems that unreasonable. Yesterday, Donald Trump spent a couple of hours on the phone with Vladimir Putin. Russia and Ukraine will immediately begin ceasefire negotiations, according to President Trump, after not only the call with Putin, but calls with other European world leaders. Not clear when or where any talks might take place or who would participate. I think we heard yesterday that the Vatican was open to hosting the talks to try and bring about peace. Trump's announcement came days after the first direct engagement between Russia and Ukraine and their delegation since 2022. Those happened in Turkey on Friday and brought a limited exchange of prisoners, but no pause in the fighting. J.D. Vance says that Trump is frustrated and frankly tired of all of this. Said his call with Putin served as a point where he said, is there a path to peace? Or do we just need to get out of the way? Moscow has said it will propose and is ready to work with Ukraine on a memorandum, but nothing has really changed. Putin said at the same time, I would like to note that in general, Russia's position is clear. The main thing for us is to eliminate the root causes of this crisis. Vladimir Zelensky reaffirmed to Trump that Ukraine is ready for a full and unconditional ceasefire, and he urged the international community to maintain pressure on Moscow if it refuses to halt its invasion. Glad they had a great call. Did anything change? I don't know. Sports headlines coming your way next. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back after this.
From the SeabrookPaint.com Weather Center, I'm Bob Sullender. For all your paint and coating needs, go to SeabrookPaint.com. Today, a 40% chance of rain, partly sunny, high near 90 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers, low around 64. Your Wednesday, sunny skies, high near 87. Wednesday evening, partly cloudy, low around 63. And for your Thursday, mostly sunny, high near 84. This weather brought to you by our friends at Gaddis McLaurin Mercantile in downtown Bolton. Shop local. Gaddis McLaurin Mercantile, your building supply expert since 1871.
Sometimes
it's been said that time waits for no one, but that's not completely true. Hi, I'm Cameron Albritton. Since 1920, our family has been privileged to serve as Mississippi's foremost diamond merchant. For decades, generations have trusted Albritton's for engagement rings, anniversaries, and those special events in life. Time has certainly changed our world. The internet, smartphones, and social media have revolutionized how we research, communicate, and even shop. At Albritton's, we've grown with you. At allbrittons.com, you can search, shop, and find the latest in fine jewelry. But for those who prefer the personal experience, you can now shop the all-new Albritton's at 4460 Old Canton Road in Northeast Jackson. With new displays and the latest designer jewelry, we're located across from our old home in Highland Village. Still the same Albritton's service you'd expect, but now bigger and better. You've waited for us, now we're ready for you. Come see what's new. Albritton's, 4460 Old Canton Road in Jackson.
At All Britain's Jewelers.
At Key Constructors, our mission is to build a legacy that will stand the test of time through hard work, dedication, and pursuing excellence. Key Constructors is a heavy civil construction company, a leader in the bridge construction world. Our goal is to provide a positive work environment for you to grow personally and in your career. We are proud of who we are and what we do, making it happen one bridge at a time. Come join our team of Black Label Bridge Builders. Check out Key Constructors on Facebook and other social media platforms and keyconstructors.com.
Pure Air Consultants has always been your go-to for reliable and affordable heating and cooling systems, and now we're offering an additional product to avoid the 25 to 30% increase that everyone is talking about. With Day and Night, a Carrier family product, your professionals at Pure Air Consultants can install a reliable heating and cooling system with a 10-year system warranty. Pure Air Consultants and Day and Night, providing ultimate comfort for your home for an affordable price. Call us today for your free quote, 601-939-7420. That's 601-939-7420, or find us online at mypureairconsultants.com.
I'm Kelly Bennett, and you're listening to SuperTalk Mississippi News. The shaky economy is not stopping people from leaving home for the unofficial start of the summer season. CJ Papa has more.
Trains, planes, and automobiles creating rail, skies, and roads more traveled this Memorial Day weekend. Over 45 million people, which is 1.4 million more than last year, venturing at least 50 miles from their homes between Thursday and next Monday. That prediction from AAA. The vast majority, about 39 million people, or 1 million more than last year, will drive to their destinations. The AAA spokesperson pointing out many families find it easier and cheaper than flying, saying, "You leave whenever you want, pack as much as you want in the car, and make all the stops you want." AAA's fuel tracker shows motorists can expect to pay less for gasoline this year. Renting a vehicle and staying at a hotel also may cost less, according to the most recent Consumer Price Index.
Pine Grove Behavioral Health and Addiction Services, located in Hattiesburg, is one of the nation's most comprehensive treatment campuses. Pine Grove provides the highest quality mental health care and addiction treatment for children, adolescents, and adults. Pine Grove offers many levels of care, including inpatient and outpatient treatment for children and adolescents. If you have any questions, please call 1-888-574-HOPE and visit pinegrovetreatment.com.
Running a business is tough. If you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. Many businesses just don't have the resources to keep up. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. We provide a full range of employer services with everything from payroll to benefits to HR services and compliance, and can create a custom plan that fits your needs and budget. We're a Mississippi-based company that can help you focus on what you do best, growing your business. Call MWG Employer Services today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com.
Get the news that matters to Mississippi on Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Each weekday starting at 10 a.m., Gerard brings you a spirited debate on the key stories of the day with the newsmakers and powerful reporting on the issues you care about. Listen on your local SuperTalk station or anywhere you get SuperTalk Mississippi. And watch the show live on C Spire Channel 70, SuperTalk TV, and on the SuperTalk Mississippi app.
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
So what do you think? Are the charges against LaMonica McIver political theater, or are they legitimate? Nancy Pelosi says they are political theater. The baseless charges against Congresswoman LaMonica McIver are nothing more than a political stunt and a brazen attack on the constitutional Article 1 powers of the Congress. Congresswoman McIver was conducting legitimate oversight of an ICE facility as permitted by law. I joined my Democratic colleagues in the House in extending my full support to her. Thank you, Representative LaMonica, for exercising your rights and duties as a U.S. representative and therefore defending all of our rights as members of Congress. Constitutionally, yes, Congress is allowed oversight powers through Article 1 of the Constitution. I don't think that oversight power clears the way for assault on a federal law enforcement officer. Unless that was an amendment to the Constitution that I missed somewhere along the way? Yes, oversight is allowed. You're not allowed to break the law in the process, though. Why is that so hard to understand?
We've been doing it for so long. It's kind of tough to break bad habits, Richard.
Here's a postseason baseball primer for you for our Magnolia State teams. The final week of the college baseball regular season was a successful one. Southern Miss with a sweep of Troy on the road. Ole Miss winning 2 of 3 at home against Auburn. Mississippi State sweeping Missouri on the road. Golden Eagles and the Rebels rewarded with top 25 spots in the D1 baseball poll, which means nothing, but hey, it's still fun to talk about. Southern Miss makes a big jump this week in the poll, up to number 12 after their sweep of number 22 Troy.
And Troy stuck around, too, after that, right?
Yeah. Ole Miss jumps to number 17 after spending a week outside the top 25, which kind of speaks to the topsy-turvy, almost whimsical nature of top 25 polls. So, in the course of 1 week, you go from not worthy of being one of the 25 best teams in the country to now you're the 17th best team in the country after you spent the entire season considered to be one of the 25 best teams in the country. Okay. Southern Miss has now won 40 or more games in 9 straight seasons. That is a remarkable accomplishment. It's the longest string in Division I baseball right now. Ole Miss continuing to make its case for a regional in Oxford, winning the series over number 6 Auburn. Scored 32 runs across the 3 games. Had a 5-run lead in Game 3, couldn't hold on to it. And while Mississippi State is outside the top 25, the Bulldogs are arguably playing their best baseball of the season, winning 9 of their last 10 to finish 15-15 in the SEC. All 3 clubs headed to conference tournaments this week. For Southern Miss, it is the Sun Belt Tournament in Montgomery. Golden Eagles will play at 12:30 tomorrow, taking on the higher-seeded winner of today's seeded matchups in the Sun Belt Tournament. They'll either take on the number 7 seed or the number 10 seed. Meanwhile, Ole Miss will play tomorrow, 4:30, against the winner of today's game between Florida and South Carolina. Mississippi State, the 11 seed. You want to watch the Bulldogs? You may have to stay up just a little bit later. Maybe you need some of the aforementioned Red Bull to get through this one. An 8:30 scheduled first pitch. Actually, they schedule it for 8 o'clock. No shot, I don't think. 8 o'clock first pitch. Mississippi State with the 14 seed Texas A&M tonight in Hoover at the SEC tournament. Fun week. Conference tournament week is a fun week, and it's 2 pretty good venues for these tournaments. Yeah, and hopefully the weather cooperates.
And you got historic Rickwood Field, Birmingham. That's where the SWAC tournament is. Jackson State will play Wednesday, 3 o'clock versus Alabama State. So that is a first-round game. Mm-hmm. The other 2 Mississippi teams did not make the cut. So that is what we got going on there with Jackson State, number 6 seed in the group.
Beautiful. More awards piling up for J.B. Middleton. Yesterday he was recognized as Mississippi State's top collegiate baseball player, winning the 2025 Ferris Trophy, named after legendary Boo Ferris at the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. The Yazoo City product has been among the best in college baseball on the mound this year. 91 1/3 innings, ERA just over 2, a whip under 1, 104 strikeouts, 23 walks, 5th nationally in ERA. Second best whip, walks plus hits per inning pitched in all of college baseball. The other finalists were Drake Fontenot from Delta State, Luke Hill from Ole Miss, Ace Reese from Mississippi State, and Middleton's teammate Nick Monaster from Southern Miss.
Those last 2 have been on a tear. Mm-hmm. Between Ace Reese and Monaster, give me a break, man.
Reese has got a chance to win the Triple Crown.
Oh, I know, man. He has really lit it up in the last few weeks, especially. A lot to do with the great run that State has been on, too. And, you know, Richie Hines' son there, Hunter, he's been hitting some bombs also.
Yep.
A few of those.
Becomes the all-time home run leader in Mississippi State baseball history over the weekend at Missouri. You got qualifying going on all over the country for the U.S. Open in men's golf. And good news yesterday for an Ole Miss golfer in Monday's final qualifying round at Bent Tree Country Club in Dallas. Ole Miss junior golfer Cameron Tankersley secured one of the 7 spots to punch his ticket, so he's going to play in the 125th United States Open at Oakmont Country Club in Oakmont, Pennsylvania. That is in the middle of June. He beat names like Sergio Garcia, Alejandro Tosti, Peter Malnati, Cam Champ, Charlie Hoffman, Austin Eckroat, and others, guys that are currently PGA Tour pros, to get that spot in the U.S. Open. That's really, really cool. And as the name implies, Open, it is open to golfers of all statuses in the United States. And, man, you want to talk about pressure. You get into some of those U.S. Open qualifiers, and it is there in spades.
Yeah, I mean, a 3-foot putt, I'm pretty much under as much pressure as possible as you can put on yourself. So, I can only imagine what these dudes are making a living doing it.
On Friday, the Ole Miss men's golf team will get going at the men's national championship out in Carlsbad, California at Omni La Costa. Ole Miss advancing after finishing second in the Tallahassee Regional. So we'll keep an eye on those scores through the weekend and make sure you know what's going on. That first round of the SEC baseball tournament beginning today. Game 1 this morning at 9:30. It's the 16-seed Missouri and the 9-seed Alabama. The winner of that game will meet Tennessee tomorrow in the first game of the day.
Think they have a pot of coffee in there?
Huh?
You think they'll have a pot of coffee in the dugout at 9:30 a.m.? That's a tough draw.
Might need it.
Yeah.
Might need it. Would you have preferred to play the early game or the late game?
The late game, man. Come on. I'm a night owl. You in college? Nobody wants to get up at 6 o'clock to get ready for a 3-hour baseball game. Come on.
Yeah. Although, the whole 6 a.m. thing's not that bad.
No, I like it now.
What we
that
do every day.
Yeah, now. But, when we had to wake up at 5:30 to be at the track to run at 6, that was not my favorite at all. I'd much rather have slept into about 10, come cruising into class about 10 minutes late. Yeah, so no, I would have been the Mississippi State draw. I know Dixon didn't like that. We were laughing about that earlier in the week. He's like, well, the worst thing that could happen is State could get the late game. So,
they did.
And they did, so.
Game 2 of the day today, Kentucky and Oklahoma. That's Oklahoma the 12 seed, Kentucky the 13. The winner will play Georgia in the second game of the day tomorrow. South Carolina and Florida will play in the third game today, scheduled to begin at 4:30 Central Time. The winner will meet Ole Miss tomorrow evening in Game 7 of the SEC tournament, and then the aforementioned nightcap tonight. Texas A&M and Mississippi State scheduled to begin at 8 o'clock. The winner will meet Auburn in the late game tomorrow night as well.
Over, under on whether that game starts at 9 before or after. What do you think? I'm going with 9. There's no way they keep that schedule up all day. That's just my gut instinct, though. They're usually pretty good at it.
Especially with the
weather,
potential severe weather rolling through. Seems unlikely. A
full day of baseball, though.
C-Spire text line says that I said Middleton was Mississippi State's best player.
Maybe the state of Mississippi is what you were meaning when you said that. But you said it, Mississippi's state, type best player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my bad.
Yeah.
All right. You can join us on the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Daniel says, Happy World Meteorology Day. The meteorologists in the South may be
busy.
They may be busy today. Jon Stewart is not related to Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, he is, isn't it his son?
Rain Forrest says Jon Stewart's birth name was Leibowitz. His father was Donald.
Okay, I'm wrong on that. I thought that was his dad. Maybe I've been wrong all these years.
Jimmy Stewart only had twin daughters.
Oh, okay. Well, thank y'all. I've been totally misinformed.
Wonder Years, yes, that is exactly what we're looking for with the Joe Cocker song. That's what I was looking for anyway. A lot of action early on the text line this morning, and we appreciate it very much. Take a quick time out, take a look at the lottery when we come back. What's happening in the land of the Mississippi Lottery, we'll tell you after this. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From
the Venable Glass.
Keeping Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Time for your daily update from the Mississippi Lottery. Visit them online at mslottery.com. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. No jackpot winner for Lotto America in Monday night's drawing. So you've got a new jackpot tonight of $35,220,000. The estimated cash value knocking on the door of $16 million. Monday night's numbers were 4, 24, 25, 47, and 45. Star Ball was 2. The All-Star bonus multiplier was 2. No jackpot winner in the Powerball. The estimated jackpot for tonight's drawing, $146 million with an estimated cash value, $65,600,000. Monday night's numbers were 13, 14, 37, 50, and 60. Powerball was 11, and the Power and Play multiplier was 2.
Well, double play numbers from Monday, May the 19th, 11, 12, 27, 30, and 35. Powerball of 7. There's no jackpot winner yet on the Mega Millions, so it has climbed up to $139 million for tonight's drawing. Estimated cash value on that is $62.3 million. And the numbers from Friday were 2, 22, 42, 62, 66 with a Mega Ball of 14.
Estimated jackpot tonight for Mississippi Match 5, $585,000. Monday night's numbers were 2, 3, 11, 12, and 23.
Cash 3, $500 Monday midday drawing 309, evening 774. Cash 4, $5,000 midday 7629, evening 0835. Fireball of 2, cash pop of 7 in the midday. In the evening, Fireball 6 with a cash pop of 4.
2025 NASCAR Powerball Playoff, where Mississippi is sending 15 lucky winners into high-speed action. The next drawing taking place this Thursday. 2 winners will each take home $3,000. All winners will qualify for the National NASCAR Powerball Playoff, racing toward $1 million grand prize and a chance to attend the NASCAR Championship Series. Sign up for this promotion at mslottery.com, where you can become a Mississippi Lottery insider to automatically receive the entry form. Also, got those new May summer games, $2 Heat Stroke, $5 Blazing Bucks, Blazing Hot Bucks, not just Blazing Bucks, but Blazing Hot Bucks, and $10 Red Hot Cash. Prizes up to $200,000. Got a non-winning ticket? No problem. Enter any non-winning hot game into the lottery's newest bonus promotion, Sizzling Summer Cash, for your shot at prizes from $500 gift cards up to $25K in cash. 6 bonus drawings start tomorrow. Don't miss out. mslottery.com. Click on the bonus promos tab for full details. How about some winners, Lance?
Well, cash 4 winners. We had a Benton woman with $845 in the pocket from Orbit Discount Store in Yazoo City, and a Natchez woman won $1,200 on a ticket from the Be Quick number 3 in Natchez. And then a cash pop winner, a Jackson woman, $1,250 on a ticket from the Corner Store in Crystal Springs.
Had a bunch of $800 winners on the Match 5. Players from Vaughn, Gulfport, Waynesboro, Hattiesburg, Greenville, and Newton each won $800 on tickets from Fleetway in Flowood, Circle K in Long Beach, Murphy Oil in Waynesboro, House of Smokers in Loosedale, Cindy's Food Mart in Greenville, and Newton Junction in Newton. Women from Greenville and Hattiesburg each won $1,000 on tickets from Rick's Express in Greenville and Be Quick in Hattiesburg. And a Tupelo woman won a whopping $141,000 on a ticket from Walmart Neighborhood Market in Tupelo.
That's a nice little paycheck right there to take to the house. Mm-hmm. Mega Millions winner, though. We don't have anything near that big, but there's a couple other big ones in there. Crystal Springs woman won $1,000 on a ticket from Fleetway in Flowood. Then you had the $5 20 time the money winner. An Ocean Springs man won $10,000 on a ticket from Walmart Fuel Station in Ocean Springs.
Had another $10,000 winner on a $5 wild money. A Jackson man won $10,000 on a ticket from Hotspot Market in Madison. Been telling you about that Red Hot Cash scratch off, the newest in the lineup from the Mississippi Lottery. $10 ticket. Players from both Pontotoc and Natchez scored $5,000 on tickets from Murphy Oil in Pontotoc and Corner Mart in Natchez. And finally, those big winners you were talking about, Tupelo woman, $3,000 on a pair of tickets from Eagle Store in Verona and Papa V's in Verona as well. Those are your Mississippi Lottery winners. Check it out online, mslottery.com. Thought this was an interesting note, kind of going back to sports headlines. When you take the most successful teams in the big schools and you create a three-circle Venn diagram with the combination of finishing the regular season in the top 25 in football, men's basketball, and baseball, there are only 5 teams that accomplish that across the entire country. Those 5 teams, top 25, football, men's basketball, and baseball. Oregon, Tennessee, Alabama, Clemson, and Ole Miss.
Wow.
How about that?
It's pretty cool. And you use Venn diagram. Yeah, it's even better.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anytime you can roll in the old Venn diagram.
I love it.
7 o'clock hour coming up. We got guests coming your way this morning, and look forward to those conversations. We'll check in with the National Weather Service and a whole lot more. But the news is next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
That's the way you spell Chicago. A knife and a fork, well, and a plate of greens. That's the way you spell, New Orleans. Girl over there with the hot pants on.
7 o'clock hour, good morning. Welcome. If you're just joining us for the first time, if you've been with us, welcome back to Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. This hour of the show is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. That's MWGEmployerServices.com. Coming up on Friday, middays with Gerard Gibbert will be at the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum at Camp Shelby, getting you ready for the Memorial Day weekend. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We're glad to be with you this morning. So, Alina Habba is she is the new state attorney general. Is that right? In New Jersey. And her office issued charges against Representative LaMonica McIver. And that was for her breaking the law. Assaulting a federal officer. The statement from the United States Attorney District of New Jersey, Alina Habba, read in part, I take my obligations as U.S. Attorney seriously. I understand the responsibility that comes with my position, and I will work diligently to uphold the law and deliver justice to the people of New Jersey. After extensive consideration, we have agreed to dismiss Mayor Baraka's misdemeanor charge of trespass for the sake of moving forward. In the spirit of public interest, I've invited the mayor to tour Delaney Hall. The government has nothing to hide at this facility, and I will personally accompany the mayor so he can see that firsthand. Congressional, she says the dismissal against the mayor is not the end of this matter. Congressional oversight is an important constitutional function and one that I fully support. However, That is not at issue in this case. Representative LaMonica McIver assaulted, impeded, and interfered with law enforcement in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 111A1. That conduct cannot be overlooked by the chief federal law enforcement official in the state of New Jersey, and it is my constitutional obligation to ensure that our federal law enforcement is protected when executing their duties. I've persistently made efforts to address these issues without bringing criminal charges and have given Representative McIver every opportunity to come to a resolution, but she has unfortunately declined. No one is above the law, politicians or otherwise. And that's the point, right? It's not congressional oversight. Lance, am I being naive here? Because the idea of congressional oversight, it's really important, right? The Congress has oversight powers of the executive branch.
Yeah, there should be checks and balances, and that is one of their main ones there to be able to.
Am I being naive, though, when I go, while observing or exercising the power and the responsibility of congressional oversight, it seems as if our congressional delegation should be an example to regular citizens of how to do what you're supposed to do in a lawful way?
Yeah, but I mean, think of it. I imagine these types of incidents that have happened over the last 4 years, except you've had people in place that haven't really done their job to resolve these issues, such as the AG is saying. So I think this may be behavior that is kind of spilling over from the entitlement of the previous administration. I think we saw it all over the place.
Well, the previous administration went off after all the January 6th protesters. And I'm not trying to conflate these two issues as the same thing. But basically, you take a peaceful gathering and you stir people up, and all of a sudden, it gets a little less peaceful. You have federal law enforcement officials who are trying to guard against their New Jersey at the detention center from a full-on riot starting. From storming the gates, they're in a crowd control mode. They're trying to keep people out of where they're supposed to not be and in the area where they are supposed to be. And then here comes strutting up a representative from Congress. I've got the right to be here, and assaults a federal officer. You should be charged with a crime.
Yeah, assaulted.
And by the way, I think any officer of the law that you assault, you should be charged with a crime. If I'm pulled over for a speeding ticket by a member of the MHP or the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department or the Oxford Police Department, they ask me to get out of the car, and in the process of getting out of the car, I shove them out of the way or try to push them back, they darn sure better put cuffs on me and put me in the back of the car. And if you do it, that better happen to you as well.
It will. Yeah, that's the thing, is it will. And you go try it. And it will.
If you're a member of Congress, all of a sudden now you're supposed to be able to push and shove and verbally and physically assault law enforcement officers, federal law enforcement officers, and then in the name of oversight be like, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, yeah, you did. You actually did. So we hear from LaMonica McIver. She released a statement. Earlier this month, I joined my colleagues to inspect the treatment of ICE detainees at Delaney Hall in my district. We were fulfilling our lawful oversight responsibilities as members of Congress have done many times before, and our visit should have been peaceful and short. Instead, ICE agents created an unnecessary and unsafe confrontation when they chose to arrest Mayor Baraka. The charges against me are purely political. They mischaracterize and distort my actions and are meant to criminalize and deter legislative oversight. This administration will never stop me from working for the people in our district and standing up for what is right. I am thankful for the outpouring of support I have received, and I look forward to the truth being laid out clearly in a court. Here's the great news. The fantastic news. We actually don't have to wait for the court. You know why? Because we've got video. Now, I suppose if you're a college football fan or a college baseball fan, you can say, I'm very familiar with the term indisputable video evidence. And sometimes I can watch a play that is being reviewed on the field and I can go, that's not a penalty. And then I hear the referee or the umpire announce, after further review, the call on the field stands. And you're like, no, it wasn't a penalty or it wasn't an interception or whatever. It's clear as day. So maybe we don't always see the exact same thing when we watch video, and sports may be our best example of that, but we've got the video. Does her contact, does her behavior climb to the level of assault of a federal law enforcement officer? Alina Habba thinks so. And she's the U.S. Attorney for the District of New York. And we got to squeeze this in with you before the break as well. James Comey goes on MSNBC. You know, James Comey, the former director of the FBI, former district attorney or a U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, former deputy U.S. attorney, really, really smart guy. He explains what happened on that walk on the beach with his wife and the seashells. Do you believe a word coming out of his mouth? Here it is.
You were back in the middle of a political firestorm.
Yeah, for walking on the beach with my wife. So I don't know how we ended up here. It never occurred to me that it was any kind of controversial thing, but that's the time we live in.
So take me back to the walk on the beach.
We were walking on the beach. We went to the beach to prepare for this week, which was the launch of my book, and to think about the book and to prepare to answer questions about it. And we were walking back towards the road, and we saw in the sand someone had arranged shells with numbers. And Patrice, my wife, said, why would someone put an address in the sand? And I said, I don't know. And we stood over it, and I said, I think it's some kind of like political message. And she said, 86, when I was a server, she did a lot of work in restaurants, meant to remove an item from the menu when you ran out of ingredients. And I said, well, to me, as a kid, it always meant to leave a place, to ditch a place. I said, that's really clever. So then she said, you should take a picture of that. And I did. And I posted it on my Instagram account and thought nothing more of it. And
all right, so the story's already changing, right? Remember last week, I had no idea what 86 is. Well, it sounds pretty clear to me that you did know what 86 was. Your wife told you it meant to remove an item to get it off when you run out. All right, at restaurants are where you see it all the time. Chalkboard at Proud Larry's. They run out of the carbonara lunch special, 86 the carbonara. Get rid of it. It's not available. He knew exactly what it meant. Or he's the dumbest guy to ever run the FBI.
From the Venable Glass.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Don't worry, baby. Just call my name. I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry. 'Cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough.
Once again, good morning and welcome. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Today is a day where you are going to need to be weather aware. About 30 minutes from right now, we'll check in with our friends at the National Weather Service and get some updates on the storm threat in much of the state of that's in place for much of the state of Mississippi. That's coming up in just a little while. But right now, Andrea Sanders joins us. She is Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Child Protection Services. Thanks so much for coming in studio this morning. Great to see you.
Thank you, Richard. Good to see you.
Andrea, this is I feel like I say this every time we talk about CPS or protecting children. It's not a fun topic to talk about, but it's a topic that needs to be talked about and probably needs more conversation than it gets in the public domain. What's going on right now? High level stuff at CPS, the department that you oversee.
Right now we're taking care of 4,127 children this morning that are actually in the state's custody. We're the agent on behalf of the state to take care of these children. We stand in the shoes of their parents. What's unusual about that is that represents an increase of over 25% in the number of children since I started this job 4 years ago. And that's unusual. It's not happening in other parts of the country. And I think it is something that, as a state, we need to talk about what's driving those numbers and what we can do to safely reduce the number of children who have to be in the state's custody for their safety.
So what is driving those numbers?
There are, we've been watching this data now for almost 2 years. A lot of the kids that are coming into custody have very high mental health needs, older kids. They're coming out of the juvenile justice system. And so it's a variety of factors, but the high volume of high need children is it's what's been unusual in our caseloads. Some of that's happening across the country as well, but Mississippi's, I'd say we have a long way to go to be really well prepared as a community for meeting the mental health needs of children and youth, as well as substance abuse needs. There's a high volume of substance abuse in young adults in our state, and so, all of those factors are combining to just continue to stress the system.
Almost all of the reporting, as it pertains to immigration, has a political slant to it, right? You're for one side or you're for the other. You're either deport everybody, get rid of it, they're here illegally, or let everybody in. I think we can set that politically slanted reporting aside just for a second. I'm curious what CPS is facing in terms of children of immigrants that are here, illegal immigrants in particular in Mississippi.
Well, I'm really focused on just taking care of the children, and we have always had a certain volume of kids who are here as children of immigrants, and the agency's been called on to, generally by a judge in youth court, to help transport children back to their home countries and reunite them with reunite them with their parents or some extended relatives. We end up doing that in a handoff. We take them to someone that we know, that we've had their own country try to give us some assurances of safety for the child. So we're really, we're not involved in deportations, but, I think it's safe to say that that's also going to drive our numbers higher in Mississippi.
So are you, even as we sit here and talk about that number of 4,000 that are in your care this morning, there's a significant percentage of that 4,000 of children from those who are immigrants, illegal or otherwise?
I don't think it's a significant percentage at this point in time, but we certainly, it's not common for us to have, a number of children from immigrants.
Yeah. I think I heard in your answer there, and correct me if I'm reading too much into this, the job of CPS is to, at least in part, strip the political nature out of it, right? I mean, your job is to care for the children regardless of who their parents are, regardless of why they are here, and some of those things get sorted out later. But when those children are in your care, your job is to make sure that they're taken care of, well-fed, they've got a roof over their head, they've got clothes. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. These are minor children. They're vulnerable. By definition, they should have been abused or neglected to be in our jurisdiction, to even be in our custody. Not that that's, it's not a threshold we want to see for any child. But our system is, we've got limited resources. We've got, we have to contract for every bed that we put a child in, which sounds coarse, but we pay for room and board. I don't have big buildings with beds in them for children. And so, the focus is on keeping the child safe at the time the child needs to be kept safe, and hopefully for only, every single day that's necessary, but not longer than that.
Can you paint a picture for me of what those living arrangements look like and what a typical day is like for a child in the care of CPS? And I ask that because I feel like maybe a lot of us have got this, I don't know if it's like Little Orphan Annie or whatever. We've got like this 1930s, 1950s image of children who are being institutionalized. And my hope is that has changed over time. Can you kind of paint that picture for us?
Certainly, yeah. We don't have orphanages anymore. Generally, we try to keep children either in a foster family, so a family that's unknown to the child but has stepped up and said, we're willing to take this child in, love them like they're our own, knowing that it's more likely than not that this is temporary, that they will, a lot of the reasons we have children has to do with deep poverty or social issues in the family, and if those can be resolved, the child can go back home. But the majority, what we know is that children are safest when we can work with somebody who's already known to the child, extended family, fictive kin, we call it. So maybe that coach at school that the kid has known through basketball. And so the trauma is easier on the child when we can put them somewhere that is familiar, that keeps them in their home school environment. But life in the day of a child in foster care, I do a lot of listening to kids, especially older kids who have, I prefer to call it graduating from the system or who are about to graduate. An old term is aging out of custody. And it's a term I hope we can eliminate in Mississippi by not letting kids age out of custody, by having a better disposition for them than just sort of putting them out into the world. But when I listen to them and hear about their stories, they've generally been in the system for quite a while. In Mississippi, the youth court really has total control over who goes into custody. And when they come in and stay indefinitely, the outcomes are not great for them. And the experience is not great. They end up moving a lot. When I originally took this job, I thought, well, I should just do better. We should not move children so often. It's trickier than that. We're a state government agency trying to be a parent to children. And, I've come to realize that state government's never going to be a good substitute for family.
Well, that's well said.
It's
there
a
are
little
lot of things
discouraging.
that it is. And it's one of the things that, that we've got a partnership with Palmer Home and that we've worked extensively with Sally Kate Winters Family Services. And one of the questions that I've always had for especially the social workers that are there is how do you do this every single day? How do you put your head on the pillow at night and turn it off? And it takes a very special person. You got time to hang with us for a few more minutes?
You bet.
Andrea Sanders, Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Child Protection Services. Talking about an issue that we probably don't talk about enough. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground, and I won't back down.
From the Seabrook
segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Wash away my troubles, wash away my pain, with the rain and shine by.
Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Andrea Sanders is my guest this morning. She's commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Child Protection Services. And we're talking about some of the challenges that exist within CPS, within the state of Mississippi. You know, one of the things that has always befuddled me is you have parents out there or non-parents out there that want to be parents, that want to adopt children. And I've heard these stories of the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars that are spent to adopt a child from another country and how arduous the adoption process is. And yet I hear from you that we've got 4,000 children that are under the care of CPS. And is there not a better way to handle the adoption process, a more, fiscally viable way to handle the adoption process for those parents who desperately want to be, or those people that desperately want to be parents, but for whatever reason have not been able to?
Short answer is yes. I do think that we've really got to rethink how we handle children and families. Taking kids into custody is it's a very big move in a family. It is it's a harsh result, but it's necessary for probably 25% of the kids that we see. Clear, absolutely necessary.
And that's a rolling 25%, right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's not 1,000 kids today and the problem solved. That's if there are 1,000 kids today, they're going to be 1,000 kids a year from now.
We are getting children to permanency faster than we ever have in this state. It was one of the focuses when I got into the agency, and yet more come. So yes, it is always a rolling issue. But on the adoption front, I was adopted through Mississippi Children's Home, which is now Canopy Children's Solutions, when I was an infant. And that was my biological mother recognized that she wasn't able to take care of me herself, and so voluntarily gave me up for adoption. That really speeds the process up a lot. But the children we deal with, by legal definition, are in our care because of neglect for about 78% of our kids, and then abuse. And so those kids have very special needs when they get into the system. When they come in for neglect, a lot of the time we can work with their family and try to get them back home, which is where most kids are, where they thrive the best. Yeah. The ones who really can't go back home,
even if it's not the best situation as we might describe it, that still is the best outcome for a child more times than not.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hard thing is that we all want to take a child and put them in the best home. But if we did that, knowing that we've got in Mississippi a third of our population living in poverty, deep poverty, you're talking about a mass migration of just taking a kid and putting them in a better home. So when we're talking about having a child who's ready to be adopted, that's after a process of the court working with the family, trying to get the child safely back home. When that becomes clear that it's not an option anymore, we've got to terminate that parent's rights. That's a very serious matter legally. So you have to have, the right findings on the record. You have to be able to demonstrate that we gave those parents due process, and we're ready to proceed with this really harsh legal construct that's terminating a parent's rights permanently. And then we've got to get to adoption. And with kids in foster care, adoption is one of those things that, when we find a family, we have to, unless there are extraordinary circumstances, we want to spend 6 months making sure that family's a good fit, because taking a child out of one family, having them in several foster families potentially while they're in the system, and then putting them in an adoptive family that doesn't work is extraordinarily traumatic for children. That constant, something, they internalize it, and it feels like a failure to them.
Along those lines, there are, you mentioned Canopy, I mentioned Palmer Home, and there's so many others. Sunnybrook Children's Home, another place there in the Jackson metro area that's done incredible work for a really long time. How do you vet and oversee the facilities that are caring for children? Because these places that have this incredible reputation, that's not the case for all places that call themselves children's homes. We would prefer not to think about that, but it absolutely has to be thought about to make sure that you don't have places that are exploiting children in the name of doing what's right.
Richard, besides the fact that, I'm standing in the shoes of the parent for 27 kids, where we put them next is, it's something that keeps me up every night. And, bad things happen behind closed doors in places that you put children. And so, vetting them is really important. We do background checks on every adult that has contact with a child. We monitor those facilities that are licensed through us and go out and do regular walkthroughs and checks. But unfortunately, even in really good places, staff is hard to get. There's a lot of staff turnover. And so it's something we have to be constantly vigilant about.
Yeah. Andrea Sanders, Commissioner with the Mississippi Department of Child Protection Services, CPS. You mentioned youth court a little while ago. Mm-hmm. Youth court, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, it's a little bit different in that the judge that oversees youth court is elected, and there are, I think, limited qualifications that are required to put yourself up for a youth court judge. Is that system working? Is that a system within our judicial system in Mississippi that needs work, or is it operating the way that it's supposed to?
You said we weren't going to get into politics. No, it needs improvement. You said that each judge is elected. That's true in 26 counties, where a full-time county court judge sits as the youth court. I don't know about special qualifications, but certainly they have to be an attorney who qualifies to be a judge. But in the remainder of the counties in Mississippi, the sitting chancery court judge, a whole different kind of court, is over the youth court, and all but one of those judicial districts appoints what's called a referee. So an attorney who handles that work on a part-time basis with no particular training, with no particular ongoing training. And that's where I just think as a state we've really got to decide, are we serious about helping children? And if so, we need people who are trained for that purpose, and particularly, willing to continuously make themselves experts on, what evidence-based practices are, what years of data tells us is better for kids. And so it's a soapbox of mine, and I'm not saying that referees don't do the best job that they can. We've got some really good referees who are very dedicated out there, but this is really specialized work. And we're talking about, nuanced decisions that impact children for the rest of their lives. And they can't just be made based on what we remember about being parents or how we feel about parenting. It is, each small decision changes everything for a kid.
You have an uplifting story to tell me on the way out the door? Because I do know that there's some great stories also. We got a minute left.
I do. We are actually, later this week, we're going to have an adoption ceremony in, drawing a blank right now where, but I've got 11 kids in sibling sets who will be adopted. And, those are just so uplifting. That and seeing families get back together. So it's not all doom and gloom.
That's great. Andrea Sanders, Commissioner of CPS, God bless you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
We certainly know that it's necessary and appreciate your leadership. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Andrea Sanders, Commissioner with CPS, joining us. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross with you on Super Talk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us across the state of Mississippi. Across the state of Mississippi today, there is a chance for some severe weather. Eric joins us, meteorologist with the National Weather Service this morning. Eric, appreciate a few minutes of your time. How concerned are you? How concerned should we be about the threat of severe weather today, especially in the northern half of the state?
Yeah, it's somewhat concerning. We currently do have an enhanced risk for severe weather that was put out from the Storm Prediction Center, and we are messaging that locally. We're concerned about the possibility of damaging winds up to 70 miles an hour, large hail up to golf ball size, and the possibility of some tornadoes as well. And as you mentioned, it's primarily focused on roughly the northern half of the state.
Last night in parts of Missouri, Oklahoma, and northwest Arkansas, really severe storms that included some tornadoes. Is this part of that system, or is this a different system altogether that's just kind of created in the same way?
It is actually related to that system. The cold front that's pushing through, the one that's coming through here tonight, the storms are going to be developing ahead of that. That same front is what pushed through that area. We're hoping that things won't be quite so rough in Mississippi, but definitely we need to be monitoring it.
Is there, I know you said northern half, and maybe at this point of the day it's a little hard to be more specific than that. Is there a specific area that you're really looking at and thinking, okay, this is the part of the state that has got the most to worry about?
Yeah, I would say right now we're roughly saying along and north of a line from around, say around Marysville and Rolling Fork over to about Macon, Mississippi. Areas along the north of that line seem to be, they seem to have the greatest threat. Having said that, it doesn't just cut off south of there. There's kind of a gradual diminishing of the threat as you go further south. So locations, say along the I-20 corridor from Vicksburg to Jackson to Meridian, we currently have a slight risk for severe weather. So just a slightly lower threat, but the hazards are still about the same. We could see the potential some large hail, damaging winds, and possibly some tornadoes as well, even southward along the I-20 corridor. And then as you get further south, to say about the Natchez to Brookhaven to Laurel area, and once you get, especially once you get south of there, the threat really pretty much shuts off, as most of the storms will be passing by to their north.
I feel like it's that imaginary corridor that we talk about all the time, that north of Highway 82. It may be a little bit south of that, but that's kind of the general area that you're talking about that could be the area most impacted. This is anecdotal, so forgive me, and I know anecdotal doesn't always work for you guys, but it feels like this spring, I don't know that we've had the number of tornadoes that we've had in some springs, but based on where I am, I live in Oxford in north central Mississippi, I feel like there's been more wind damage this spring than I remember in recent years where, there's a wind event, maybe even an isolated wind event that comes through, and a lot of trees have been down and a lot of power knocked out. Is that correlating with what you guys have seen at the National Weather Service?
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of a combination of a couple of things where we've had here recently, especially, we've had hotter temperatures than the normal at ground level, but above the earth, above the ground, going up through the atmosphere, the temperatures have been maybe a little colder than normal. So what happens is you get these bigger gradients between the ground level and above, where you have more instability. And that increased instability has definitely contributed to the wind damage you're talking about. It does seem like there's been a lot more, and I would even add to that over the last few years, it seems like we've had a few more of these wind events. So, it's not your imagination,
okay.
But, how things are going to go here the rest of this year and the next few years is definitely up in the air, no pun intended. But it's that's definitely a good observation.
Eric with the National Weather Service, meteorologist there. You guys always kind of jump on short notice with us. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
You as well. So north half of the state of Mississippi, expecting some severe weather later in the day. Could be severe thunderstorms, possibility of tornadoes. Some hail possibly mixed in with that as well. So just keep your head on a swivel later this afternoon. Looks like it's the time when the most serious threat is there. I think we got a fun conversation coming up with you to start the 8 o'clock hour. Lisa Cookston will join us. She's the executive director of the Mississippi Museum of the Mississippi Delta. There's a new exhibit that is opening called America at the Crossroads, the Guitar and a Changing Nation. Mornings with Richard Cross continues after the news.
Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Well, I ain't superstitious, but a black cat is crossing my trail.
8 o'clock hour as we roll on Mornings with Richard Cross. Good morning to you. If you're just joining us, thanks for tuning in. If you've been with us for a couple of hours, we're glad that you are sticking around. Don't forget the C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Looking for game-changing technology? Then you need C Spire on your team. 5G wireless, fiber home internet, and business IT solutions built as tough as your defense. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Lisa Cookston joins us now. She is executive director of the Museum of the Mississippi Delta. I'm assuming that if you run a museum, you hope that you have good content with which to fill the museum and lots to choose from. I cannot think of a part of the country with more good content for a museum than that of the Mississippi Delta. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
So how are things going in Greenwood at the Museum of the Mississippi Delta?
Well, we are gearing up for a really big exhibit. So right now we're scrambling to make ready for an 18-wheeler to pull into the Museum of the Mississippi Delta this week and put together this exhibit that's been crisscrossing the nation called America at the Crossroads, the Guitar and a Changing Nation, from the National Guitar Museum out of Los Angeles.
Wow. What's the focus of the exhibit?
Well, it's about how the guitar really shaped our country. You know, its influence on America's history and culture and politics, and because you could move around with it and it was a cheaper instrument, how it opened up, you know, the instrument to a wide range of people who wouldn't normally have access to musical instruments, and how, you know, bluesmen, Elvis Presley, women, you know, just got their hands on it and changed the way we listen to music. And we can also claim in Greenwood, the Mississippi Delta, that we kind of invented it all sprang from this area.
Yeah.
We like to claim it anyway.
I understand that, and I mean we talk about Mississippi as the birthplace of the blues is the moniker,
Sure.
but at the same time, really birthplace of American music, and every genre of music that we have today seems like it has some roots to the state of Mississippi. Whether you're talking about rock and roll and what Elvis Presley did to change everything, or the blues and all of the incredible blues musicians that have come from the state, you can see an impact in every type of music that we have today.
I think so, yes. I mean, the Crossroads are here in the Delta. Robert Johnson, who's had a huge impact on Eric Clapton, the Rolling Stones, and so many more, is buried right here in Leflore County. If you start looking just in Leflore County, which is where our museum is, there's so many influential musicians. If you just do a little research, you'd be amazed. And Bobby Gentry, I mean, Ode to Billy Joe. She's right here. And we have so much to be proud of in the Delta. We can get down on so much in our state and in our region, but we have so much wealth of talent and, culture from here. So we hope that we can show what we need to be proud of and what we spread across the world that we can be proud of.
I'm curious if you have studied the story of the Crossroads, because that's this mythical story that's out there, and I was doing some reading about it not too terribly long ago, and there are like a lot of different versions of the story. There are multiple places that claim as being the home of the Crossroads. I guess Clarksdale probably the most famous, but there are others who say no, it was more here along the way. That Robert Johnson story is it's a mysterious one as well. How much have you studied on that?
Well, if you live here, you've heard it all your life. So study, it's just part of the culture. I mean, the Delta is mythical and magical in itself. So yeah, you've just heard it. So, I mean, study, you just make it up as you go along, but it's here.
and maybe that's what
Robert Johnson. Yeah, well, Robert Johnson was just a so-so blues musician, and he went away for a little while, and when he came back, everybody was like, what happened? He's incredible, and then they said he went down to the Crossroads and made a deal with the devil, and it is somewhere people claim around Clarksdale. Some people say around Tutwiler, but it's around these parts, so.
No doubt. And maybe the mystery.
Anyway, he came back playing great. It's a mystery.
Maybe the mystery of the legend is what makes it such a great part of the fabric of the history of music in the United States.
Yeah.
So this exhibit, you said an 18-wheeler coming in, loaded down with guitars, and how difficult is it to secure a time window for an exhibit like this to bring in, to display, to put out for people to be able to see and study?
Well, it's not hard to do that part. Just the hard part is raising the money. It just takes money. But it was a challenge posed to me by a local banker, because this exhibit has been to Mississippi. It was at the Max way over a year ago.
Okay.
And when I heard about it, he's a friend of mine. He said, I bet you can't get this. And when I looked it up, there was a window. But then I found out how much it cost to get it. And so the challenge was raising the money. And people stepped up. And we got the money raised and said, we're going to get it. And we're going to have it here. And thankfully, we secured it. And we have been advertising this internationally to hopefully pull those blues travelers off, between Memphis and New Orleans and pull them into Greenwood. So we're betting that this will be a nice stop on summer tours, not just for international travelers, but for our local residents and regional travelers. Because when people do come, and you'd be surprised at the number of travelers across the country who come in and want to see something about music in this area. And we've got some great, we've got the Grammy Museum 45 minutes away. We've got B.B. King. We've got something in Clarksdale. But, when they come to Greenwood, they want to understand what the music is like. In addition to the other things that we have at our little museum. The Museum of the Mississippi Delta encompasses, military history, Civil War, Native American pottery. We have a great art collection. So, in a swamp museum, a Native American, not Native American, but what you would find in a Delta swamp. We're probably the oldest museum in our area. We were founded in 1969, but this is going to be a great addition to our permanent pieces. And this will come in and open May 29th and be here through Labor Day weekend.
Okay, so the entire summer. It's going to be there at the the museum for the Mississippi Museum of the Mississippi Delta. Last thing for you, and you touched on this a second ago. I'm always fascinated with the international travelers. There are lots of people that have talked about that. Can you kind of put into words what that looks like and what those numbers are like with people that are coming from Europe and all over the world to study the history of music in Mississippi?
You would be amazed at the number of people that just wander in from all over the world who want to understand the culture of this area, especially there on a blues trail and civil rights. They just find this area charming. And, I wish my friend Ashley Farmer, who is the head of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, she goes on international trips and sells this to the international traveler. And they're fascinated by it.
Sure.
Because this area is, most southern place on earth. And, you say you have roots in the Delta. I kind of think the Delta is the heart and soul of the state of Mississippi. Not to take anything away from the rest of the state.
I
We
understand.
all have our unique spots, but it is. It's just the culture is just a different vibe from the rest of the state, and people are fascinated by the mystery and the myth and what we have to offer.
The exhibit opens May 29th, America at the Crossroads, the guitar and a changing nation. It's at the Mississippi of the Museum.
From the Venable Glass.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I'm going, baby, there, going to Memphis.
Thanks to Lisa Cookston for joining us, Executive Director of the Mississippi of why can I not say that? The Museum of the Mississippi Delta. She wanted us to add one thing as we were wrapping up. They're kicking off the exhibit with a live performance from Thacker Mountain Radio, a long-running and highly successful radio program that tells incredible stories about music and literature in the state of Mississippi. So Thacker Mountain is opening the exhibit America at the Crossroads, the guitar, and a changing nation. And I heard, Lance, you say that you're a bit of a museum junkie?
Yeah. Man, I love museums. I've spent enough time in them and been to most of the big ones in the country.
What's your favorite museum?
The Field is an excellent one in Chicago. I love the Guggenheim in New York. Just the building itself, it's very strange and unique. But there are great museums all over. I've been to all the big ones. Birmingham has got a nice one. Dallas. There's just so many great places that have great collections, honestly. Been to a few out west, East Coast stuff. Baltimore, love Baltimore. A lot of old East, stuff from the Revolutionary era and lithographs. Love lithographs. That's one of my favorite things. Back before they had, cameras, you had to do the lithograph. It's very detailed. But no, I worked in the museum world, and so I enjoyed it a lot. It was a very inspiring place to be, and surrounded by amazing people that have that preservation. There's heritage and history there, so much there into those pieces, and it was just fascinating to work in that world. Watch the restoration process, watch the exhibits come together, the lighting, the staging, and then, as she said, making sure you had the funds to sustain what you were doing.
Yep, a lot of good stuff there. The Museum of Natural History in New York. Right there on the west side of Central Park, I guess lower west side is where it would be geographically, is a really, really cool. That's the place where they filmed
Night at the Museum.
Yeah.
Beautiful building.
Yeah.
I love them. Smithsonian to me, though. I lived in D.C. For a bit, and I went through those.
Air and Space?
Yeah, love. That was my favorite as a kid. We went up there when I was about 11 or 12. First time I ever went in that Air and Space Museum, and it just blew me away. I could have stayed 3 days. It was so many unique and amazing things. And then, too, to me, a great museum knows how to display and how to set it up and to leave a little mystery for you, too. Yeah. And Smithsonian, they're geniuses.
I'll tell you one that was really cool that is no longer with us. It was dissolved in at the end of 2019. The Newseum.
Yeah.
In D.C.
Mm-hmm. I remember
really,
the Newseum.
Really cool stuff there if you care about the history of journalism. And I don't know that the Newseum was fit for today's type of journalism, but there's a lot of cool stuff about the history of newspapers and radio and television that was in that as well. So House Republicans cleared a major hurdle over the weekend in advancing a sweeping package of President Trump's tax proposals, the big, beautiful bill. 1,116 pages. They had an unusual late-night vote on Sunday as it got out of committee there. I think it was 17-16 was the final vote. You had 4 budget hawks, as they were described in some of the stories, that just voted present. So they didn't actually vote against the bill, but didn't necessarily vote for it as well. But the question is, what is in the big, beautiful bill? Kind of the centerpiece of the legislation is those 2017 Trump tax cuts, making those permanent. There's a story at The Hill that says nonpartisan scorers and think tanks estimate that the tax cuts, the 2017 Trump tax cuts, would cost trillions of dollars over the next decade. The Joint Committee on Taxation, which is the official revenue scorer for Congress, estimated earlier this month that the overall cost of extending the tax cuts and other measures in the plan would put more than $5 trillion toward the nation's deficits. That's the bad part of it. The good part of it is, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the economy since 2017 or not, but it's been on a bit of a roll.
Oh, yeah. Been rolling pretty good.
Yeah.
But, the thing about that is the $5 trillion, that's as is, and the consistent rate of growth that we've had and tax collections, all that. But it's very similar to what Tate Reeves is doing here in the state and the team. Keep bringing business in. People's incomes go up, tax rates are maybe lower, but you're collecting more, and those businesses are also paying taxes. So that's how you offset that. Build stuff people want and grow your economy.
Yeah. One piece of this is salt. the state and local tax deduction, which would allow taxpayers to deduct more of their regional taxes from their federal tax bill. The measure calls for raising the current deduction cap to $30,000 for filers who make less than $400,000 a year, but the changes to the proposal could be possible in the coming days. You've got moderates, if that even exists in Congress anymore, in high-tax blue states who are pushing for the cap to be higher. Cap has been a source of contention in the GOP in recent months. There are fiscal hawks that have raised concerns about raising the limit. One of the things that Donald Trump campaigned on and is part of the big, beautiful bill is new tax proposals that would implement no tax on tips. I've seen some pushback on this that say, hey, if you're an employee that relies on tips, it's not my job to pay your tax bill. Your employer should be paying you more. That's not really how the service industry has traditionally worked. Maybe it should change. I don't know. Generally speaking, though, people are pretty good with the idea of not taxing tips and also not taxing overtime. And in the we talk a lot about the construction world, Lance, and the need that exists there. You know, whether you're talking about people involved in the building trades, whether it's plumbing or electrical or carpentry, all the other things. And I think I've said to you before, I've talked with a contractor who, if somebody expects to work only 40 hours a week working for a builder, they're not going to be around with that builder very long, because that's not the hours that people in those trades work. They tend to start early and work late and sometimes work weekends. And so the idea of a 40-hour work week is just a myth.
Well, and it's a project-oriented job, too. I mean, you get paid better by getting it done quicker. Sometimes there's going to be penalties. Yeah, well, there's penalties if you don't. Well, in construction contracts, I'm not talking about residential, but, yeah, I mean, there'll be penalties for not getting things done on time. And so, yeah, the 40-hour week, you throw that out the window.
Well, and whether you're in a job where overtime just means more hours or overtime means actually a bump in the pay, a lot of times you'll see, time and a half for overtime work. So let's just using round numbers, your base pay rate, $10 an hour for a 40-hour work week, and then it goes to $15 an hour for every hour over 40 hours. You go to a 60-hour work week and you're talking about the ability to make another half of your salary or more in overtime. And can you imagine if using $10 an hour, which by the way is low, but just for math purposes, on a 2,000-hour work week or a work year, I mean, that's $20,000. And then if you work another 1,000 hours at $15, that's another $15,000. Not having to pay tax on that is could be really significant. And I know those numbers don't really line up so easy on you don't even get taxed on a $20,000 income in the first place. I understand that. Just numbers for ease of math for the conversation. The big, beautiful bill, the legislation includes significant cuts to Biden-era tax credits for climate-friendly energy sources, would eliminate tax credits for electric vehicles within 2 years, phases out credits for low-carbon electricity, including wind and solar, through 2032, institutes new requirements on the credits while they are in effect that would make it so many companies would likely not qualify for them even while they are still technically on the books. And some of the industry have described the existing cuts as unworkable. Chip Roy, who is one of those budget hawks that we've talked about, has said the cuts are still not good enough, that there should be more. And you got Medicaid reform. The bill includes major reforms to Medicaid, estimated to lead to upward of 10 million people losing coverage by 2034. My question, and I don't know that we have a clear answer to this, is we're talking about Medicaid coverage for American citizens? Or are we talking about Medicaid coverage for people who are here illegally? Because I think that's a different conversation.
Well, there's like 375,000 Venezuelans by itself that they're looking at deporting. So are they getting Social Security benefits, welfare, all that?
Yeah.
And do the math on that plus, yeah, I mean, that could be a problem.
And a really significant piece of this, and the idea is you would take people off of the Medicaid rolls if you put a work requirement in place. On childless adults between 19 and 64, they would have to work to be eligible for the program. The other part of it is, if they're working, perhaps they don't need Medicaid. We'll be right back.
From the Seabrook.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Well, I done got old. I can't do the things I used to do.
A couple of other things that are in that big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump is proposing. By the way, that is the official name of the new tax budget bill proposed by President Trump. And he is headed to Capitol Hill today to meet with Republican lawmakers to try and get everybody unified and on the same page moving forward. How about this? No taxes on gun silencers, or suppressors as some people call them. Package would eliminate a $200 tax on gun silencers that has existed since 1934 when Congress passed the National Firearms Act. The elimination of the tax is supported by the NRA. Now, silencers get a bad rap, but they are becoming much more popular and much more widely used by outdoorsmen. When we think of silencers, we think of, bad guy shows on television where they screw on a silencer so nobody can hear them shoot the gun when they kill somebody that they're not supposed to kill. But the truth of the matter is, suppressors are becoming widely used on hunting rifles. And for two reasons. One, it lessens the need for ear protection. I mean, if you're shooting a gun right now that does not have a suppressor on it without ear protection, you're just making a mistake. Your hearing will be affected, period, especially if you shoot a lot of rounds. But there's another piece of it. I was talking with a buddy the other day who's got a 8-9-year-old son, and the rifle that his son shoots is a bigger caliber than you would expect for an 8-year-old. He's got an 8-year-old that's shooting a .308, but it's got a suppressor on it. And so not only is it not loud, it significantly reduces the recoil. You can shoot it all day and not have a sore shoulder, even for a young child. Lance, you're out you got lots of friends that hunt, you're out in the outdoors and at deer camp and all the time. It's incredible how many people have added silencers to just their everyday hunting rifle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're amazing. It's you get a good one, it really does make it a lot more easy on the ears. I've been shooting my whole life, never really worried too much about the sound, but when you're out in the woods and yeah, you get that ringing in your ear. It's the worst. It's terrible. But yeah, I've really enjoyed my more wealthy friends and family that have the silencers on their guns and suppressors. They're a lot of fun. They really are, and I can understand the worry as you've mentioned, the screwing on the silencer to go take somebody out, but I don't think that's a very logical use of 99.9% of the suppressors. No, I mean that may happen, but that's definitely not the primary use of those. And
the cost of those has come down. I mean, they were
we used to have a trust.
Expensive for a long time, and there was a long waiting period for them. That has been reduced. And the cost of them has come way down. Now, they're still expensive.
Well, do you still have to do the gun trust in order to do that? Because you used to.
Don't think so.
Yeah, because it was overly prohibitive for a long time. And had to find these little loopholes and weird things. I don't like that in any part of the law. It's to be straightforward. I don't think there's anything that's going to a suppressor. I mean, that's an unreasonable cost.
Yeah,
and restriction, paperwork, all that for what? I mean, what did you think people were going to do with them?
Yeah. MAGA means Make America Great Again, but in the case of the big, beautiful bill, MAGA means money accounts for growth and advancement. MAGA Kids $1,000 savings accounts for parents or guardians who open a new MAGA account for their children. The federal government will contribute $1,000 for babies born between January 1st, 2024 and December 31st of 2028. Families then would have the option to add up to $5,000 a year. This is post-tax money, with the account holders unable to take deductions before 18. Then at 18, they could access up to 50% of the money to pay for higher education, training, and first-time home purchases. At age 30, account holders would have access to the full balance of the account to use for any purpose. It's a part of the legislation that has gained a lot of traction in recent weeks. And then there's the money allocated for the Pentagon. $150 billion in new money for the Defense Department, including $25 billion for Trump's Golden Dome for America, a missile defense shield for the United States, $21 billion to restock our nation's ammunition arsenal, $34 billion to expand the naval fleet with more shipbuilding, and $5 billion for border security. Also includes $9 billion for service member quality of life related issues. You got a tax on university endowments and an overhaul of the student loan program, wholesale revamping of the student loan program, key to the legislation providing $330 billion in budget cuts and savings. Not having the federal government pay off student loans and forgive them might be a good start. And then there is drilling and mining on public lands. That's a possibility in this as well, including authorizing the sale of hundreds of thousands of acres of public lands in Nevada and Utah. So there are cuts, but there are also new expenditures to go along with the $36 trillion deficit. If you were hopeful that this Republican administration was going to significantly lower the deficit, not for the first time saying this on this show, you're probably disappointed. Because it doesn't seem to matter which party is in office. That is, spending less money just doesn't really seem to be it's like it's a non-starter for everybody. So are there ways to save money? Well, here's one way to possibly save money. The Office of what's the specific name for this office? Oh, it's House Oversight. The Republican from Kentucky, James Comer, and Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa on the oversight committees are saying we got to crack down on credit card spending in federal agencies. This has been particularly egregious within the Department of Defense. A recent audit of credit card spending, which, by the way, doesn't happen. There were no audits that the Department of Defense or other agencies could point to in which they were scrutinizing credit card spending of those who had access to charge cards that the government was responsible for. Why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem because of this, what those credit cards are being used for. So an analysis of Department of Defense credit card spending included many charges for high-risk services, including, you ready for this? Dating and matchmaking services, online dating and social networking services, adult entertainment, bail and bond payments, bail and bond legal services.
What are they, stockbrokers?
Gambling, state lottery, payday loans, and cryptocurrency. So can you get a payday loan on a credit card?
I think you can get a payday loan any way you want it now if you're willing to pay 4,000% interest. They'll be happy to give you the money.
And marijuana products. E-cigarette. Wait, you get people that were buying weed with Department of Defense credit cards.
Yeah, and that, obviously they just caught that, though. You know, nobody knew that was going on. It's kind of like the Coke in the White House.
Mm-hmm. E-cigarettes and vaping products. Babysitting. Childcare services. Jewelry and luxury goods. Here's one. spending money on horoscopes and fortune telling, buying into multi-level marketing and pyramid schemes. I hope you're in early, because that's the only way you're making money on that. If you're down the line, you got no shot.
You're locked.
Weight loss and diet products. Massages.
Ooh, yeah.
Which kind? Cruise lines. Telemarketing of travel-related services and vitamins.
Got to have your vitamins.
Telegraph services. Who uses a telegraph?
Telegraph? Is this a joke?
Boat dealers. Camper dealers. Recreational and utility trailers. Furriers and fur shops. Wig and toupee shops. Record shops. Timeshares. Massage parlors. Health and beauty spas. Government licensed casinos for online or internet gambling. Government licensed horse and dog racing. Golf courses. Gambling transactions for sports books. Amusement parks. Carnivals. Circuses. Fortune tellers.
Hey, but they need more of your money and mine.
And country club memberships. Oh, and horse and dog racing as well. The Department of Defense credit card audit found that money was being spent on DOD credit cards at all of these places. Not just hotels and rental cars and plane tickets. Oh, no. Horse racing.
Yeah, that's protecting the country, buddy.
Massage parlors, babysitting, and on and on. Bernie Sanders says that Democrats may actually be a threat to democracy. No, really. He did. Play you the audio when we come back.
From the Venable Glass.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
You may or may not be familiar with the Kill Tony podcast. YouTube recently decided to start ranking podcasts. Joe Rogan was number one. The Kill Tony podcast is the second most listened to / watched podcast in the United States of America, which is simply to say that it has a large audience and is very popular. Kill Tony and his compatriots, Tony Hinchcliffe, by the way, is the comedian, on the Kill Tony podcast with his co-host, he had a chance to sit down with Bernie Sanders. I thought this was a really interesting minute-and-a-half clip from this podcast, from this interview. I would like for you to hear it right now.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy, but from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
I donated for you. I mean, I wanted you to, like, 2016, I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it. And it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported him.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And I mean, a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you know, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice.
But it ended up being him anyway, so why don't we burn it down?
Well, because it's easy to say burning it down means that children are not going to have, you know, food to eat, that the schools will deteriorate, people will not have health care.
I got it.
And I'm an elected official, I got to represent the people.
That's fair.
And I can't turn my back on.
But then could we not also say, if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear...
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
All right.
Isn't Larry David a great senator?
Bernie Sanders to the question, considering that we haven't had a fair primary since 2008, isn't the Democrat Party a threat to democracy? And Bernie says, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with that point. I'm not sure that made Democrats comfortable. I'm not sure that Bernie Sanders cares if it made Democrats uncomfortable. He's a socialist. And look, I mean, you have to filter through some of what he says. He's like, yeah, I don't disagree with you that it has not been a democratic process for us choosing Democrats to run for president. And he's like, my wife agrees with you that, I shouldn't have stepped down. I shouldn't have stepped away and supported them. But then he goes on this deal where, yeah, but I mean, if I burn it all down, then we've got children who aren't able to eat and all of our schools crumble. Hyperbole much, Bernie? Like, I don't think one of the, if you go to the Republican National Committee website or the Mississippi GOP website and you read the platform for the Republican Party, I don't think not feeding children or destroying public schools is one of the platform items. So you get something reasonable out of Bernie Sanders where he recognizes that, yes, there are pretty significant problems within the Democrat Party. And while we talk about Republicans being a threat to democracy, it's a great buzz phrase. Yes, Democrats, as they exist right now, are also a threat to democracy in his words. But bad man orange. That's what they always go back to.
Well,
Donald Trump, yeah, bad man orange.
You got to have something to scare people with. You can't just be nice. You know that there's a tactic. If people live in fear and chaos, and they look at leaders and say, "Oh, well, you have the solutions."
Yeah,
and that's again the whole left. Whether you're socialist or just a moderate Democrat, you want to make the Republicans out, the conservatives out, as say Nazis, or they're going to destroy democracy, and all these catchphrases, as you just said. But there's no evidence in any of that.
Yeah. Thomas in Greenwood on the C Spire text line says, Bernie a socialist? Yeah. But Trump has won too after his threat to Walmart the other day. That was the Walmart shouldn't pass along the tariff cost to you, the consumer, because they made many billions in profit. Does suggesting that profit limits for companies should lead to companies charging less to consumers, does that make you a socialist? I suppose that's up for you to decide. Thanks for being with us this morning. Really enjoyed our conversation with Andrea Sanders, the Commissioner of the Department of Child Protection Services, and also with Lisa Cookston, Executive Director of the Museum of the Mississippi Delta. Be careful out there today. Weather may get bad this afternoon, especially in the northern and southwestern parts of the state of Mississippi, so be weather aware. For Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.